Okay, let's go and raise the weapons barrel and unlock the pins. There's always a chance of human error. If a cartridge accidentally goes off while you're loading the feet which jettison this weapon can injure somebody and stuff like that, and it would probably ruin your day. These are all different range missiles on this plane. This is a long-range missile. This one's a medium-range Sparrow missile, and this is the short-range AIM-9 Sidewinder missile. It's used for air-to-air and dogfighting.
This is the AMRAAM, another air-to-air missile, a replacement of the Sparrow, both air-to-air. The same weapon. This is an AMRAAM. This right here is what we call a GBU-12, and it's a laser-guided type weapon. It rides a laser beam. This is a Maverick, what we call a laser penetrator. It's a beam rider, and it's used against all surface targets. This is the cluster bomb unit. We use this against any ground targets. It's a free-falling weapon that would explode and release little bombers from the inside of it. And each one of the little bombers is about the same size as a grenade, but you will cover a large area of the ground with.
All 264 aviators and 2,500 men of the squadrons are headed by the Commander Air Wing, Captain Michael McCabe.
When we launch a strike, it really begins with the E-2, which goes out ahead and creates a picture for the battle group and relays it back and does air surveillance of the target. The S-3B Viking functions against submarines, against other surface ships, as a tanker and as an electronic surveillance platform. The A-6 Intruder is a tremendous platform for delivering the laser-guided bombs which gained such acclaim in Desert Storm. The F-18 works very closely with the F-14s for the fighter mission and with the A-6s delivering weapons to the target. Our F-14D, the Super Tomcat, is the most capable air interceptor in the world. Our EA-6B Prowler is capable of defeating virtually every surface-to-air radar system, either through jamming or by shooting missiles at the target radar.
The planes form up and head for Midway. The E-2 Hawkeye is the intelligence center reporting to the strike leader. In the fuselage, 3 officers can track 1,600 air and surface targets simultaneously at a distance of more than 300 miles.
Our system displays to us, in real time, 360 degrees around us, everything in the air and on the surface of the ocean for over 200 nautical miles. Here's the picture we have to work with in the E-2. Here's the carrier with the battle group. Here is the strike package en route to the target area along the strike route. Here is the target area. Here we have potentially hostile aircraft in the target area. As the strike package closes into the target and things start to get hot, the controller will work closely with the fighters, vectoring them onto the hostile aircraft so that they can be taken out so the strike package can safely ingress, put bombs on target. Our job's still not over up to that point. We must remain alert to ensure that hostile forces are not planning to come back and strike the carrier battle group.
Back at the ship, officers in the combat area keep close track of the Midway strike and also of the larger strategic scene.
Red Crown, she's right overhead, so I'm not getting a good check. Red Crown saying 300, 304, Sweet India as of now. Why don't we turn one again? I want to know how he's picking him out of that blob up at Midway.
If this were a real attack, missiles could have been launched from more than 100 miles out. Cluster bombs would have killed anyone above ground. Laser-guided missiles would have pinpointed the hangars. Each A-6 intruder could have dropped 9 tons of bombs. In an ultimate war, a nuclear bomb could obliterate the island. Such is the awesome power we in the 21st century must live with. A swift passage through the Indian Ocean has brought the ship into the Persian Gulf. Attacks on the Carl Vinson could be launched from land masses only minutes away. Air crews and pilots are on call night and day.
Okay, on the flight deck, just a reminder, all hands, it's getting pretty hot out there. Temperature is at least 96 degrees. They're going to be going up in excess of 100 degrees today. Everybody take plenty of water in there. Make sure you stay in the shade when the opportunity presents itself. Start feeling tired, let somebody know.
Whenever there's not aircraft airborne, you got to have the ship in a defensive posture with aircraft on the deck, and that's what we've been doing all night.
It can get pretty boring most of the time sitting out here in the middle of the night, but things can get real exciting real quick, and that's why we're here.
And if anything happens, we'd launch off the front end of the ship here and go out there and take care of business.
In the combat area, Admiral Clark, who commands the battle group, has instant access to an array of constantly updated strategic information.
Our presence here is giving our allies, our friends in this region, confidence in rebuilding in this post-war era. But we're also here to perform a function. In the southern part of Iraq, the United Nations established the no-fly zone. And each day we're conducting operations enforcing that no-fly zone. And we have a dozen ships arrayed throughout the Gulf today. I have destroyers up there to ensure that no shipping goes into Iraq that has embargoed goods on it. Several of our ships, including our submarine, are equipped with Tomahawk cruise missiles that can reach hundreds and thousands of miles into Iraq if need be. When people ask the question, why do we need carrier battle groups? This is one of the best answers that anybody could ever provide. We need carrier battle groups because they can go to regions like this and influence events throughout the world. And when the job is finished here, we can take this battle group and all of its influence and move anywhere in the world where we are needed.
The Carl Vinson is maintaining a U.S. naval presence in the Persian Gulf that began in 1949 and culminated in the war with Iraq. Within a few days of Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, a U.S. carrier battle group entered the area. During the Gulf War, 120 U.S. ships, including 6 carrier battle groups, destroyed the Iraqi Navy. Naval and Marine aircraft dropped 7 million pounds of explosives and launched 1/3 of the 94,000 U.S. aircraft sorties during the war. Lieutenant Commander Leplov has vivid memories of the Persian Gulf. He was here during the war with Iraq.
I was on the USS Midway, and this is the USS Independence that had just left the Arabian Gulf. The people on that deck were exhilarated because they were going home. We were exhilarated because we were going into a potential battle zone. People were crying. About 3 months after this, we actually did fly into war. My particular squadron dropped over 750,000 pounds of ordnance on the war. And really quite an amazing evolution.
On previous bomb runs in mid-ocean, Lepla and his squadron used smoke signals in the water as targets. Today, there are bombing ranges available ashore in Kuwait.
Obviously, stay away from towns. You don't want to buzz any of those camels, that type of thing. Your job is not to make their life difficult.
Here you can see our yellow shirt standing right in front of the airplane. He'll be our taxi director. Okay, he's just passed us off to another yellow shirt. You know, sometimes they're hard to see, but... Oh, okay, there he is. Okay, he's giving me the spread wing signal now. Wings will be coming down. Okay, they're moving. And once they come down completely, I'll lock them in place. Okay, there he goes. All right, we're next. The jet blast deflector is coming down. That means it's our turn to taxi up. Okay, they're going to taxi us up onto the shuttle. All right, come forward a little bit now. You'll feel the airplane come up and then down to the launch bar. Okay, we're accelerating probably out to 400 knots or so. When we're out here in the Gulf, we're on call 24 hours a day. That means we fly usually every other day and engage in planning when we're not actually flying. Every exercise, every training mission that we engage in, we treat as if we're going to war. Pretty barren out here. These desert low levels are really rather insidious because well, the problem is you really have no great depth perception. All right, turning to the north now. In the turn, got to keep it low. Don't want a balloon. And the problem here is a trade-off between going very high that the enemy will see us or staying low, but if you're going to stay low, you got to avoid the dirt, obviously. Okay, the forward air controllers have a handheld laser gun that they're actually firing on the target as we ingress towards it. The laser beam from that gun will bounce off the target, be received by our airplane, and then the onboard computer will then compute the distance and heading and display that to the pilot. Okay, all right, I found the target. Stand by, there it goes. Okay, our mission is completed, but let's go ahead and head on home. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3 gear down and lock, visual slat, stab shifted, boards are out, hook is down, skid pops are off, hook, bypass, interest, and we're ready to come aboard.
The skill gained in such training places the squadron in ultimate readiness. During this deployment, 264 aviators will make over 7,000 flights.
My wife will send me a video of the children about once every month. That's my youngest, our little daughter, Susanna, in her swing.
Flowers.
The gardening she's been doing. There's a lot less weeding I'll have to do when I get home. There's my little daughter. Get that pretty smile.
Look at the camera and say hi, Daddy.
Hi, Daddy.
I love you.
I love you.
There were a couple of times that I am a father. I wouldn't want anybody dropping bombs on my children and killing my children. And I thought about it, you bet. Who in their right mind or with a conscience could go into war and not think about what you're doing to other people? But on the other hand, you've got a job to perform, and that's what you've trained all your life to do. You're in the military, you are essentially a trained killer. You've accepted that. Your country is employing you to kill other people, whom your country mandates should be eliminated, shall we say. That's when people like me and Jeff, we fly in, we drop our bombs, we come back, and maybe we feel a little bit of remorse, but we never let it get in the way of our jobs.
It looks like a bomb, but actually it's a 3-camera photo pod. Flying surveillance this day is Lieutenant Mike Gordon, 28.
We have to keep track of what the Iraqis are doing as far as complying with the UN sanctions and also moving their military equipment around. Main things we've been taking imagery of lately are their SAM sites that they're trying to upgrade or move back into. Also, a lot of the airfields, seeing if they're completing construction on the runways that have been cratered and damaged, and if they're moving any aircraft down south, which so far they haven't been as far as we know. Now I'm flying the F-14D, and I absolutely love this thing. You can accelerate from 300 knots up to about 600 knots in about 20, 30 seconds. You get the feeling of speed, the rush of power. It's got 30,000 pounds of thrust per engine. Put them both into afterburner, and you get about a G1/2 to 2G pushing you straight back into the seat. It just has more moving parts than just about any other plane you'll ever find. But we're restricted in flying at fairly high altitudes because of the lack of hostilities and the lack of any kind of risk.
We're extremely busy with TARPS imagery up here in the Persian Gulf. After the Gulf War, TARPS became a paramount photo reconnaissance platform, and its value was really, really noticed by the higher echelon. We get tasking from the U.S. Central Command, and they give us a list of targets that they want us to image for that day. And the aircrew will go ahead and fly the mission and return anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours later. Right now, it is the only forward-deployed tactical airborne reconnaissance pod system left in the armed forces. Once the aircraft returns, the photographer's mates download the film and they take it to CVIC, the Intel Center on board the aircraft carrier, where within 5 minutes to a half hour, depending on how much was shot, they process this film. It's the Tigris-Euphrates River, the cradle of civilization. When I was flying there during the Desert Storm, there was just massive carnage and a lot of smoke, fire, oil slicks everywhere. It looked like an ecological disaster. You thought it was the end of the world there when I saw it. Looks quite green now, though. Once that film is processed, it's taken immediately to a light table where photo interpreters go ahead and annotate the targets that were imaged by this pod. Once they image it, they go ahead and cut the negatives and they make hot prints. These hot prints are immediately taken to the Admiral for review, and at the same time they're reviewing them, they're being digitized and transmitted to our end customer.
Okay, the pilot and air crew usually come down. They play an important role in the debriefing process. They can help us locate the targets, especially since they overflew those areas. They know what we're looking for, and they know how to help us find the spots where the target is supposed to be. So they have an important part in the debriefing and finding the targets on the film. You guys got
the 99,
about 40 targets then today.
Yeah, we might have set a new world record for targets.
Sarge,
Man overboard! Where?
A fearsome call. Helicopter rescuers now face the real thing.
Man overboard called away. Helicopter out there. Looked like they dropped one diver into the water. So they've located one individual, and they're in the process of trying to recover him.
Some of our young men who are away from home for the first time in their lives have a great deal of difficulty being alone, being in a strange environment in which they're asked to work very hard. We had a man who chose to jump off the ship. It was certainly not an attempt to take his life. We had him plucked out of the water in just a few minutes. But using that technique to send a signal that I'm asking for some help is something we discourage. But it does give an opportunity to reflect on the fact that we have people who are not as able to cope with the stresses as others, and we need to continually to keep our eyes open for them.
Afterburner takeoffs are exciting, but in the pilots' minds, there is the nagging realization that a twilight takeoff means a night landing.
When the sun goes down around here, that's where the rubber meets the road. Nobody takes night landings lightly, because they're difficult every time, no matter how much experience you have. Every trap, every carrier arrestment takes total concentration, total focus, just a commitment to excellence. You have to draw on all the training you've had up to this point, all the experiences you've had, in order to bring it aboard every time at night. I don't think you'll find any pilot that'll tell you any differently in night landings. You look at the ship at 3 miles and it's just a dot of light. Take the pinhead of a needle and put it out in front of you. That's what the ship looks like at 3 miles. You don't know which direction it's moving in. You don't know how fast it's moving. You're closing on it at 130 miles an hour and it's moving away from you at 30 miles an hour. You only have so much gas out here in your jet. You know, your jet weighs a certain amount of pounds, and you can only carry so much fuel when you bring it aboard the carrier. So you only get, maybe 2 looks at the aircraft carrier before you have to refuel.
A tense group in flight operations tracks the fuel status of the returning aircraft.
Commander Driscoll. That's a good one. So we're just prepping in case we need. Well, right now I have 4.5 thousand pounds of fuel airborne, and guys start going around and around. I'm going to need more than that, so I'm just getting ahead of the game here with that watching that air crew.
The Air Wing commander and the captain want constant updates on the number of refueling tanker planes in the air.
4.5 available right now. We got a tanker train.
Right now, 4.5. We don't know yet. They haven't told us.
We have the reps here from each of the squadrons to answer questions and emergencies as they come up, and aid the pilots in making decisions, getting the aircraft aboard the carrier. The mood's kind of tense. The weather's bad. In front of us, we have the status boards that have the current pilots who are airborne,
Ready to copy.
current fuel states, and recommended tank states, and their land times.
Control, low, little low, full slow in the middle.
Well, this isn't like you're on the freeway when you run out of gas and you can just coast to the side of the highway. Here, you run out of gas and you end up going in the water. The pilots and the ship are battling against the clock. Every minute an airplane is on approach, he's burning about 100 pounds of fuel a minute, which is about 15 gallons. It becomes so stressful down here just due to the fact that we only have a limited amount of time to get these airplanes on deck. And this limited amount of fuel is the difference between life and death around the carrier.
Down in 2 minutes? Yeah. Okay.
If for some reason somebody can't land on the aircraft carrier, just due to the fact the pilot's having a bad night, he's going to have to go to the tanker.
If we can't take them in time, we got to set up the barricade on deck. If we can't trap them in the barricade, then we take them out for a blue water divert, which is what they go out to about 6 miles, and then they bail out.
You've got about 15 to 18 seconds of intense flying where there's no room for errors. You fly 3.5 hours, a 3.5 hour mission, you're tired. no matter how tired you are, you got to get the energy from somewhere.
Give me a heads up, he's been on a 6-hour flight.
All right? Not for 6 hours. I'll say, hey, I complain about my 3.5-hour flight.
Hard for me to get off the steps sometimes because my knees are shaking so badly, especially on the passes, the nights that are really dark and the passes are really bad. That's something I don't like to experience, and it's I always think about that up there in Marshall when I'm ready to come on down. So.
You waiting for some good news from home?
Yes, sir.
Well, it finally arrived. Congratulations. Cedric Jr. the second.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Cedric Jr. the second. That's football team. There
yes,
you go.
Sir.
8 pounds.
Yes, sir. 8 pounds.
21 inches. And you got to read the last line right there. What does your wife say? He looks just like you.
Thank you.
That's frightening, isn't it?
Oh, this is great. Oh, boy, this is great. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I know you've been waiting.
Yes, I have. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good one. It's been a while, huh?
Yes, I've waited long for this.
Way to go.
You
don't mind that we kept you up for this news, do you?
Not at all. Thank you. My wife, she did it. We did it together. Thank you.
Mother and baby doing fine, huh?
Oh, I waited so long for this.
Heading home from the Persian Gulf, the Carl Vinson crosses the equator, where, following maritime tradition, Neptune initiates those aboard ship who have never crossed the line before into the ancient order of shellbacks.
His Majesty sends greetings. He has commissioned me to announce that it will be his pleasure to visit your ship today.
It's my pleasure to have you aboard our ship. We're prepared for you and look forward to the arrival of King Neptune.
Well, what a fine ship. But your ship is sorely infested with various slimy pollywogs.
I have several young members aboard who haven't been in the Navy long enough to have the opportunity to visit your domain before and become shellbacks.
Captain, I must be severe. There will be no exceptions.
Very well, Your Majesty. I'm ready to turn my command over to you for such time as you may desire.
Now they are shellbacks. On the next voyage, it will be their turn to dish it out. America and loved ones lie just over the horizon. From those who made this voyage come varying reactions, some fulfilled, others sorely tried.
Everybody's all itchy about getting home. Just everything's going to be different when we get back. People don't know how to act back in the States. 60% of my division went to captain's mast for drinking and doing stupid stuff. I know I lost about 8 guys from my department during Westpac just because they couldn't handle it. You're out at sea for weeks, months at a time, not even seeing land. Not even seeing a female. Drives them crazy. They send them off to the hospital ward. You never see them again. But all of us that are left on the ship now, we made it.
This is one of the last deployments for the A-6 Intruder. The plane is being retired.
My airplane, the A-6, is going away. I'm too senior to transition to another airplane, too junior to really think about going anywhere else and making a difference in another community. So, in all reality, I'm going to be forced out of this business that I've grown to love. I try and imagine what it's going to be like knowing that I will not be coming back to the ship anymore. but I am going to miss this. It's going to be, this has been quite an experience, and it doesn't seem like it's been 14 years, but it has.
And with the demise of the A6, basically what you have is a community of pilots that are going to be scrambling for orders. 2 weeks after we get home from cruise, I'll be flying the F-14 Delta. I've got a job. I can continue to do what I love, which is fly aboard aircraft carriers, stay in the naval aviation, and be around these kind of people. On one hand, you're as happy as you can be because you're fortunate. And on the other hand, you're sad because your friends, some of your friends aren't making it, and you're like, you know, what do you say to them? You know, I'm sorry, you had nothing to do with it. But on the other, you know, and you're happy, but you don't want to be too happy because you don't want to seem like, you know, that I don't know, arrogant that you got picked up. So it's kind of a weird feeling, you know. I was able to get to become the top nugget for the first line period we had. After that, things went pretty well, but I wasn't quite able to break into the top 14. Just missed the last time, and I got a whole nother cruise to go, plus workup, so next time maybe I'll be in there. Something to work for anyway.
Well, I guess the 3 big mistakes that I made are still my 3 biggest mistakes, but they're becoming a little more easy to live with and a little more bearable, and I find I'm getting in a lot less trouble now, which is good. But, you know, as far as all that, nothing's really changed except for my outlook on it. I mean, what am I doing here? I'm swapping a deck. Poorly, as a matter of fact. I still don't like the Navy, but it's easier to live with now.
I've been accepted to a flight school in Oklahoma. And it's been a joy working on these aircraft the past 2 years. Now it's going to be my turn to fly some. And who knows, maybe even fly off this flight deck someday.
When I left on deployment, I was focusing more on the challenges ahead. And now as I come home, I can't help but think about another part of the challenge that was always there, and that is to bring everybody back. We have not lost a life in an accident.
There are many homecomings. The planes fly to their home bases. The ship docks in San Diego and San Francisco.
Beautiful day for San Diego flying. Yay! Our husbands are flying in together.
When this big ship pulls up alongside the pier, and there are hundreds, and even in the case of the carrier, thousands of family members waving at sailors on the ship, that's a very moving and emotional experience.
New dads are the first sailors allowed off the ship.
Labor. He's in labor right now. Baby boy. Baby girl.
Big boy, 10 pound, 13 ounces. Big boy, real big boy.
Baby girl.
Baby boy.
Baby girl.
Baby girl.
Daddy loves you. coming underneath 106. Underneath 106. Underneath 106. Is it? Yeah, it is. What's up?
Well, hi, sweetie. About time, huh?
The camera's up.
Get swamped.
There he is! There he is!
There. Go.
When we first flew over the beach, feet dry, I was just so happy. You can't put into words that what it's like being away for 6 months. Think about it. That is way too long for anyone to be away from home. I got things to do. Now I have a life. It starts today.
It's perfectly contented.
You know what? I don't care what the commercial says. It doesn't get any better than this.
Frank Martinelli, promoted to lieutenant commander, will leave the Navy for the uncharted waters of civilian life. Lance Jorgensen, off to flight school. Slim Pickett will return for the next deployment. In 3 months, this great ship and her crew will go to sea again.